Good morning, students. From today onwards, we'll be starting video presentations on consumer behavior and rural marketing, a paper of fourth semester, FT 405M. The contents of this unit will be covering our introduction to consumer behavior and consumer research, nature, scope, and application of consumer behavior and consumer research. The book that I'll be recommending you is Leon J. Schiffman and Leslie Lazar Kong, titled Consumer Behavior. It's a Pearson publication, and Suja R. Nair, Consumer Behavior in Indian Perspective. So these are the two books that I would recommend you for this course. Today we'll be covering the definition of consumer behavior. We'll take different perspectives, the interplay of affect, cognition, and cognition that usually is a part of consumer behavior, the importance, and we'll try to cover factors influencing consumer behavior. Uh, Consumer behavior has been defined differently. The most common definition is, the behavior that consumer display in searching for, purchasing, evaluating, using, and disposing of products and services that they expect will satisfy their needs. So, contrary to common belief that consumer behavior is confined to the process of search or purchase, it also includes in its ambits the behavior that consumers show during the usage and the disposal of the products. So this is something important, which defines a common perception of what the consumer behavior would actually entail. Consumer behavior is the study of how individual customers, groups, or organizations select, buy, use, and dispose ideas, goods, and services to satisfy their needs and wants. It refers to the actions of the consumer in the marketplace and the underlying motives for those actions. Now, here there's one more facet that's being added to consumer behavior, and that is it's not only confined to the human being, but also to the organizations. So, if you're talking of B2C, studying the behavior of the consumer is very much a part of this, but it also deals with the institutional buyers. So consumer does not mean a human being, but also it can be an institution that, and the behavior that the institution displays also fall within the power of this consumer behavior. Another definition is consumer behavior is study of consumer and the process they use to choose, use or consume and dispose of products and services, including consumers' emotional, mental, and behavioral response. Now, here we are trying to cover the psychological aspects also, the emotional, mental, and behavioral. And this is what we'll be dealing in detail when initially I've talked of interplay between affect, cognition, and cognition. One more thing, as the market is getting matured and the consumer is getting aware, the consumer behavior is more focused on the disposal of the products also. Consumers and the companies are getting, environmental conscious. And now they are trying to study not only how the consumer is searching for the product, but how the consumer is disposing to ensure that the consumer does it in an environmental friendly way or to ensure that the product is not harming the environment. So now the behavior of the consumer displayed during the disposal of the product is equally important. Consumer behavior incorporates ideas from several sciences, including psychology, biology, chemistry, and economics. Uh, Another way to put consumer behavior is can be defined as interplay of forces that take place during a consumption process within a consumer self and the environment. So now here we are talking about the interplay of forces, and the interplay takes place between three elements. They are the knowledge, effect, and behavior. And this is what we say cognition, affect, and cognition. The knowledge part is the cognition part, the emotional part is the effect, and the behavior is what we say is cognition. So this is how we can actually decipher a consumer behavior. It's the interplay of these three parallel forces, and then what you see in the consumer is a manifestation of what comes out when these forces interact with each other. It is very much applicable for if the product is low involving or high involving its material. When the product is low involving, the condition may have a very important role to play. When the product is high involving, cognition and affect equally play an important part, and they are mutually reinforcing. They are affecting each other. So now we come to a question of why is consumer behavior important? Studying consumer behavior is important because these way marketers can understand what influences consumers' buying decision. And once the marketer understand what influences consumers' buying decision, then uh, these understandings can be used in advertising and sales promotion, so that consumer is properly swayed towards their goods. That actually helps in increasing the efficiency or optimizing of the resources. By understanding how consumers decide on a product, they can fill in the gap in the market and identify the products that are needed and the products that are obsolete. Studying consumer behavior also help marketers decide how to present their product in a way that generate maximum impact on consumers. And lastly, understanding consumer behavior is the key secret to reaching and engaging your client and convert them to purchase from you. So overall, what we get from this is understanding consumer behavior actually help in ensuring that the time, money, man, material, machine, whatever the company is using to attract a customer is used optimally. Uh, and that's why initially I said, basically attempts to increase the efficiency of the consumer. So what we understand now is that it's a three-step process: obtaining first, then consuming, and third is the disposing. These three in totality constitute a consumer behavior, and this can be very nicely seen in the schematic diagram. Here you can see the consumer experience, and then you have a loops of desire acquisition. So we have a desire for a product, then you acquire the product to satiate your desire. Once you acquire the product, you start using it, and once you have used it, you dispose it off. So the components of desire are problem recognition, need arousal, deprivation, wants and aspirations, interest and taste. So these actually accentuate a desire. Acquisition is search, looking for a product, shopping, selection, decision making and choice, shipment, transportation, gift, borrowing, or even stealing. When we come to the consumption, the product has been purchased, so you have to set up. Then there is some kind of preparation or customization. Then there's a consumption, enjoyment, sharing, storage, maintenance, and finally, discarding the product. Whether it's possible to reuse it, recycle it, resell it, or donate it. So this is all a gamut of consumer behavior, from the arousal of desire to the disposal of a product is concerned. So, what are the factors that influence consumer to say yes? There are three categories of factor that influence consumer behavior. One is the personal factor, the second is the psychological factor, and third is the social factor. Personal factor could be individual interests and opinions that can be influenced by demographics like age, gender, or culture. You have psychological factors like an individual response to marketing message will depend on their perception and attitude, and social factors like family, friends, education level, social media, income, they all influence consumer behavior. And this diagram would focus on how the study of consumer behavior draws from the different disciplines, from cultural anthropology to experimental psychology, uh, is all the different streams of study actually help in understanding the consumer behavior. So this is all for today. I'll continue this in my next lecture.